Hi, welcome to all. If you're new or if you're one of my old friends, welcome. The video today is Meet Me in Paris. It's hosted by Brenda of Monners Market and Indiana Jones. Oh, I was excited about this one because I love Paris and I love the things that you think are Parisian or French. So I'm using what they call salt wash. It's a powder. It's not baking soda. It's a different powder, but it goes a long way. You can buy a smaller can of it too. Well, I happened to just use maybe a little too much in there this time. So it was quite thick, but I wanted to get kind of a pottery cement looking paint out of it. So you just mix it with your regular paint, but like I say, I used a little too much this time. But I used a Waverly chalk paint in, I think it was Elephant. And then I added some white chalk paint to thin it down a little more. But it was very, very thick. You can see as I stir it how thick it's getting. So I don't think I would use that much. I hadn't used it in a while, so I'd forgotten. So I just used a regular paintbrush and I painted it on these planters that I got from Dollar Tree. They're nice, excuse me. They're nice, but they could use a little sprucing up, so. My paint term, I slathered it all over. You can see how thick the paint's going on. I'm giving it that kind of a appearance of pottery or cement. And I did two of these size. Doesn't matter what color you use. Oh, spring. Sorry. And then I had two little terracotta pots. I'd already painted them white, so it doesn't matter. They can use it right straight on the terracotta. But I think they painted up about the best of everything I painted. And I'm not having project 1, 2, 3. I've got 4 different projects, and I just all kind of run together. So you can see my process in this. So I painted all my pottery at the same time. Pouring a little water in. That water looks yucky, but it doesn't matter. And then I have this, I've had this a long time. I can't even remember if I got it at Ross or I think I got it at Ross. But I bought it probably around 9-10 years ago. And I've had it where I hang jewelry from it. But I thought, I'd never really liked that material, so why not paint it? So I just painted it with the chalk paint. I didn't use the cement on it. But it did a different reaction when I painted it, and you'll see in a minute. It's more of a mini mannequin. And I decided to go ahead and paint the stand and everything white. Took more paint to cover the plastic stand than it did the body of the mannequin. But the body was cloth. It felt like maybe it was on a really hard plastic shape. I used my heat gun to dry it. Now I'm back to putting Mod Podge on my pots, because I didn't want anything cracking apart. I found a few little cracks in there and I didn't want it coming off, chipping off. So when I paint it with the Mod Podge, it holds it on there really well. And besides, it helps the transfers stick on really nicely, so they transfer easy. And I didn't know how the transfers would be with the bumpy surface, but you can see later on when I do them that they worked out great. So I've got quite a few steps in here. Now the next day when I went to paint this, it was all cracked. It wasn't going to fall off, but it was all cracked. So I thought, no, I don't really want that look. So I painted it white again. So it had about 3 layers of paint on it. All right, so here I go with my transfers. I guess I forgot to show that I painted this little riser. It was one I used in the past. And I painted it white, and it already had a paper on it that was kind of a bumpy paper. So I think it gives it a cool look. So these are from Iron Orchid Designs. And they're transfers that you rub with the stick. They give you a nice stick in here. It's a nice plastic, really hard stick. Where other transfers give you just a thin wooden stick. So as you're going and you lift a little bit, you can see where if they're still black, you lay it back down and you rub it again. So you just rub it until everything's transferred. And the one book I had a lot of French labels and French-looking designs in there. And I've used that book before, but I was just itching to use some more. It's like I said, I love France and I love French design. French words, whether they say something good or not, they just look so nice. You just take your time and scrub it and it comes off. So I'm just burnishing a little bit with the one paper that it came with. And I will Mod Podge this to make sure nothing peels off, which it probably won't, but this will seal it in really nicely. And it seals in the chalk paint too. This is a matte Mod Podge that I'm using, and I am a proud ambassador for the Plaid family of products. You can find them online or through Michael's or at Joann's and Hobby Lobby. And here's another one I put on, and they actually went on the bumpy surface really well. So I'm just sealing that whole thing in also. Amazon carries Plaid products. Everybody carries Plaid products. So here's the second one I'm doing. You can start to see when it's lifting because it gets kind of an opaque look to it where it looks like it's you know, not on the plastic anymore. And I paint that with some Mod Podge. I did craft shows for so many years that I have kind of this mentality of doing things production line. If I'm going to paint, I like to paint all at once, especially with the same colors. If I'm going to transfer, I'm going to transfer all at the same time. So like I said, there's actually 4 projects here, but you get to see them all when I'm doing them at one time instead of step by step. And there we go with the small pots. A little bit of burnishing and a little bit of Mod Podge. See how nice those look. Oh, and these were a blue transfer, where they have them in black, blue, and white, all in the same packet. They're not cheap, but they do go a long way. So if you look at them and they're $32, $28, well, $26 to $32 is what I usually see them ranging from. You think, oh, that's a lot of money, but when you're getting so many projects out of it, I still have a lot left. You really, actually, they come out to be a really nice deal. And you're getting what you want. And if you're one that resells things, then you just would up the price to coincide with it. Because they make everything look so high-end. And it transferred onto this material really well, too. I wasn't sure how it would do that, but it did it really nice. So you could see that I had cut it apart, and I'm taking the top part and putting it up above the bust area. Trying to get it centered there. And it's nice they've got this squares on there that you can really line things up. And it's really, if you kind of get off, it's really easy to put it back down and put it right back on the design. So easy to see. And you can see that I am doing the Mod Podge on this. And I had this napkin I thought was so adorable, and there's just needed something still on the mannequin. So I cut out the Paris. And from the French on the words on the transfer, it looked like it was maybe for material. And they said something about dresses. Ornaments for material, or maybe somebody who speaks French can tell me what it means. There were 2 little birds in there where it says Paris. And I love to Mod Podge, and I love to Mod Podge with napkins. And if you're going to take up Mod Podge, don't try to do a great big project at once. Try to do just something small and try to do it flat. And as you get used to using it and feel the way it works, you could do more. And usually I smooth it out with saran wrap or some kind of plastic wrap. Oh, more coughing, sorry. But I didn't this time because they were small. And I decided, well, let's do the back in case you could see the back from someplace I display it. So I cut out the Eiffel Tower and some words and a postal stamp. That's for one area. You just put down a little bit of Mod Podge or whatever medium you're using and lay the napkin down gently, and then with a soft brush, this wasn't as soft a brush as I usually use, then you go over the top, or you can let it dry and then go over the top. But if you cut out pieces and put them on something, they're much easier because they're smaller and easier to control instead of trying to use the whole napkin at once. I decided to try the bicycle. And there was a rose with it. And just don't play with the areas too much. I was kind of turned and playing with the area too much, and I noticed I was lifting the napkin, but I left it on anyway because it still looked cute. And I don't know if you can see it, but I just kind of tapped at it. And well, I like it much better than I did with that black and white flowers on there. I didn't like that so much. Now I'm using some Waverly antique wax, and I'm going over the stand. And I do a little bit, and then I wipe it off. It gives it a very antique-y look. I guess that's what it's supposed to do, being antique wax. Duh. You can always leave the wax on and let it dry like that if you want a dark look, but I wanted it to just kind of have the white peeking through. And this is what you do with the napkin parts that you separate from the napkins, is you use them later on things like this. And sometimes napkins only have one, sometimes they have two. And it's pretty easy to lift them off and separate them. And I decided to make that top part on the pots come out and just used a really dry brush on the antique wax. So I didn't even really have to take off too much of it. I did use a napkin to wipe it, but it just made the decorations stand out. So here it is, all finished. I put some vintage napkins that I just acquired recently in the little pots, and then the one on the left, and the other one I put some floral in. Oh, I'm showing you that I forgot to show you the riser. The riser's feet and edge are painted in gold, which they were painted that before. Getting in there, trying to give you a good look at everything. Put some florals in the other. And I am so happy that you came and watched with me, and I hope you enjoy everybody on the playlist. And I will put the playlist in my description along with the hosts. Bye for now.